I made it to the meeting on time.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Welcome to the Public Works Committee meeting of November 21. Let's begin by having a motion to approve the minutes of our previous meeting. Frank, thank you. Second? Claudia on the second. Thank you, Claudia. All those in favor of approving the minutes signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, carried. And Kevin, would you like to start with Parks and Rec?
Yeah, we'll start with the Parks and Rec.
All right, without objection, we'll start with Parks and Rec.
I'm
Okay,
gonna turn it over to my Parks and Rec Director, Dean Moore. First one he's gonna go through is our usual contribution to the snowmobile clubs, and all of them are listed on there, so I'll turn it over to Dean.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Chairman. So for items 1, 2, 3, and 4 under section 4 for action agenda, that covers our 4 clubs. South Lauren, the town of Hague, the Hague Snowgoers, the North Horn Trailblazers, and and Thurman Connection is the 5th one on there. This is all a request for a new contract. It would be the same as previous years. Respectfully, it is $27,000 for each of the 3 clubs, with the exception of Hague for $9,000. The term is from January 1 of 24 to December 31st of 24. And it is for the trail maintenance and equipment for that season.
all right, let's bring this forward for consideration. Mr. Merlino on the motion, Mr. Thomas on the second. Okay, it's on the floor for discussion. Ms. Bramer.
Just to be clear, is this 1 through 4, or 1 through 5?
1, 2, 3, and 5. No, 1,
Yeah,
2, 3, and 5.
Okay,
1, 2, 3, and 5.
1, 2, 3. What about
No, that's
4
something
separate.
different.
something
Yep.
different.
is
Okay.
different? Okay, 1, 2, 3, and 5 is what? Mr. Merlino, Mr. Thomas, in agreement, that's the motion that you brought forward? Okay, thank you. All right, then, any discussion on 1, 2, 3, and 5?
You said 20,000, 27,000.
27,000.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
27,000 and 9 for. Same as previous.
All right, then, I'll be ready for the question. All those in favor of the requests for these new contracts on 1, 2, 3, and 5 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, carried. Next
Okay.
item.
Yes, item number 4 is a request for a new contract with North Horn Trailblazers. This is strictly for non-financial agreement. It's an agreement to utilize 3 parcels of the county so they can access from the northern part of the trail system to the southern. It crosses the parcel at Cornell Co-op Extension, just the northern tip, cuts across soil and water conservation. These 2 are in the town of Warrensburg. And then a little bit, you go across a bridge where the canoe access site is and a parcel in Bolton, and that gets them down to the south. So again, this is just an agreement to approve them to use those 3 county parcels. It was a 3-year contract up until this year. I would request that we do that again, a 3-year contract, as it helps with being able to.
A 3-year contract on
Yes.
the 3 parcels.
Yes, please.
I see. Now, there's no financial.
No financial.
All right, let's bring 4 forward. Mr. Thomas, Mr. Merlino, any discussion? Ms. Bramer?
Thanks. For the contracts that we just approved, do they also maintain this section on the additional parcels?
The club that manages that does maintain that portion as well.
Okay, and do we have anything about liability? Do they have any sort of indemnification for the county for anything that might happen?
Yeah, they all do have insurance. There's also and I apologize, I didn't expect that question, Claudia. There's a clause in state law that allows them, we can give them permission to go over parcels. But all the clubs do have their certificate of liability on file with us. But I want to look up that law because it was something that allows them to go over parcels as long as we give them permission.
I think Claudia's question though is, do they name us as additional
They do.
insured?
They do.
Oh, they
Yeah,
name
that's
us
what
as
the certificate of
additional.
liability
Okay,
insurance is.
okay.
Yep.
All right, is that?
Yep.
Ms. Bramer, okay. Any other questions? Are we ready for the question then? All those in favor of item number 4 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, carried. Next item.
Item number 6, requesting a new contract as well for the Saratoga Snowmobile Association. Again, this is a non-financial contract. It is for use in the right of way of the rail from Anton Mountain Road, which is the southernmost portion in Saratoga County, up to a mile post. It's designated as 58.6, but it is at Park Ave Extension, so they can get off and hit 9. It's a connector.
And that's so they can get into the Warren County trails from the Saratoga County trails.
Same conditions and requirements,
Same conditions, same
stipulations,
requirements, just requesting
naming us as additional.
Yes.
All right, let's bring the item 6 forward. If we haven't already, Mr. Thomas on, Mr. Merlino, bring it forward. Any discussion? Are we ready for the question then? All those in favor of item 6 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Carry. Next item.
Item number 7, request for a small amendment to the county budget. We've been reimbursed by Soil and Water from a grant we applied for in the tune of $358.42 for advertising and supplies. The program has been executed and
That's to receive the payment.
we received that payment. Yes.
Do we have a motion to bring this forward for action? Mr. Thomas, Ms. Bramer, thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. Next item.
Request permission to apply for a grant to the Pearsall Foundation. Again, this is a annual thing that we do. It's never guaranteed, so we come before you every year. It was for $2,500. And it would extend for the year, and it supplements homeschool and public programs.
Okay, can we bring this forward for consideration? Mr. Thomas on the motion, Mr. Merlino, second. Thank you. Any further discussion? If not, the request to approve the application for the to the Pearsall Foundation signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. Next item.
Last item on the agenda is a request to apply for financial support from the town of Bolton. We've done this in the past. This is for hobbyists and special interest programming. Typically our maple, our natural heritage programs and maple sugaring, and we also do some painting of the trees and wildlife programs, but we'd like to apply to see if we can have support.
Okay. Ms. Bramer on the motion, Mr. Thomas on the second. Look forward to receiving that application. Are we ready for the question? All those in favor of the application to the town of Bolton signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Next item.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Discussion. On that note, I guess I will just continue with this thought. I would like to thank the town of Bolton. We had a very successful trunk or treat. We had 3 years ago, we had roughly 400 people come to the event. Last year, my first year here, we had 800. Whew, how do you handle that? That was interesting. I got a little nervous and jerky. I spoke to Kevin and Mr. Conover, but this year we put things in place. We worked, and I would like to thank Veteran Services, Cindy and Rose and Denise, excuse me. They helped us out. We were able to take care of, and our sign shop. We took care of absolutely no parking on the roadsides. We actually, everything was handled smoothly. We had Bolton, we had every municipal agency there from the municipality of Bolton, fire, police, EMS, as vendors, as supporting the program, but also the police was there to help us as well. Absolutely no issues. It was a great event, well received, and we have a plan moving forward.
It was tremendous, really. And I think you handled the 9N much better, much safer way.
Yeah, we were able to take advantage of using the veterans van and from the request from the town of Bolton using Shepherd's Park so that we could. Veterans, I'm sorry. Veterans Park, so that we could have cars parked down there and then have the van bring them back up. People dropped off kids and such at the event, and then went down and parked the cars. So we probably had upwards of 20 cars down there at one point, but everything went smooth. Dean was calling me and I was up in the parking lot parking cars, and he was busting them back. Yes, Claudia, I was parking cars.
Brad and I definitely would have some cars.
Yes.
Maybe you did.
We haven't gotten to
But it was a very successful event. And how many did we do this year?
People,
Yes.
840 or 50. 800.
So
So
very
that
successful.
plateau stayed there.
My 3-year-old granddaughter loved it. She was the purple witch.
Oh, okay, okay.
Enough said.
I remember that one.
Very good.
Okay, what else?
All right, next item we have on there, there's this kind of go hand in hand, so I'll kind of take care of these. Rob and Emily are here from Revolution Rail, and it's that time of year that they were given the update to the ridership report that the county requests them to do every year. So that being said, I will turn it over to them.
Hi, everyone. Again, I'm Rob Hart, the owner of Revolution Rail. Good to see you guys all again. Molly McCarthy, our general manager. I just wanted to give you a quick update. We had 39,449 riders this past season, which is great, considering it was probably the wettest summer that any of us that I remember in history. So we were able to provide 62 jobs to the community, and a lot of people had a really good time. We did an independent survey too, where we just for the knowledge of the county, that we had 2,000 of our riders answered it, and over half of them said they had never visited the area before. They came just to do this, and then they spent 3 to 4 days here and getting meals and all that. So if you extrapolate that out over 40,000 people, you know, it's 20,000 people coming here for the first time. So it's kind of an interesting stat for us. It's not an official economic impact study, but it was pretty cool for us just to see what sort of, we were trying to find out what kind of imprint are we putting on the community, and that's been helpful for us to know. And I think hopefully going forward, we'll continue to grow. We started to add some different pumpkin patch rides this year and moonlight rides, and we're trying to kind of diversify things to make it more interesting for return people that are coming out and giving them different things to do. And Thousand Acres Ranch started to grow a little bit more this year for us, and Hadley continues to be strong. And North Creek is North Creek. So it was overall, I think we're really happy with the business end of things for the summer. So I'll let Molly kind of talk a little bit more about the Warren County component of it.
Yeah, so hello, everybody. I'm Molly. We were able to work with the Warren County Workforce Development Summer Youth Employment Program, and we were able to host a summer youth employee, and that was really successful. I was able to gain some skills and having a first job and some soft skills of employment. That was really successful. We'll do that again next summer, as well as participate in the high school job fairs that Liza and her team put together in the spring, which is really great for us to be able to pull some youth employees. We were able to continue to offer combination rail, bike, and tubing trips out of North Creek with our partners Beaverbrook and Adirondack Adventures, as well as get some started in Hadley and Thurman with Dean Morton at Adirondack Adventure Center, offering both tubing and rafting combination trips, which has really been very successful and great on both ends. We were able to support 54 not-for-profit organizations this year, including a lot of local ones, and as the North Creek Depot Museum, Tannery Pond Center, the North Creek Volunteer Fire Department, Adirondack Outreach Center, the Hadley Luzerne School District, Warrensburg Smoke Eater Jamboree, and many others. We had a lot of Girl Scout troops come out. The Johnsburg 4th grade class came out for their end of season or end of school year ride. We did a lot of really fun events like that to get the community out, as well as having our community day for Thurman and Stony Creek residents on our last weekend, be able to come out on us to be able to just ride and enjoy the last weekend we were open, which was it was a very fun weekend. And we're hoping to continue to do it and make our trips more accessible for visitors and locals to explore the foothills of the Adirondacks. So
Thank you, and thank you for that
Thanks, Molly.
report.
Thanks, Rob.
And you might want to hang right there if you want to roll right into the next thing, but that without objection, we'll roll right into the
So the next item I had on there is the RFP for the railroad. So as you're all aware, we put out an RFP for recreational use of the railroad. This committee approved doing that. We received the proposals back last week. There was one, and it was from Revolution Rail. So with that being said, when we got it in, I had already turned in the agenda, so I didn't have necessarily time before printing the agenda to do a resolution. But let me go through really quickly what Revolution Rail is proposed in their proposal. They have a base proposal that it breaks it down by station as well as the train use. And if we did this on an annual basis, it would be $80,000 a year. With that being said, they also provided an alternate proposal. That if we would be willing to enter into a 5-year proposal, they would give us $100,000 a year annually. I don't have the resolution here, but at the pleasure of the committee, I would recommend that maybe we move forward with the 5-year proposal, but I will leave that to the chairman. To decide to do.
Yeah, I mean, I think that makes all kinds of sense to me. I think that county administrator shaking his head. You think that's reasonable? You think that's reasonable? The attorney, we one proposal was submitted.
Only one proposal. We can put together a contract on that, sure.
We can do that. Okay, so the attorney says it can be done as well. So what's the pleasure of the committee, Mr. Merlino?
Yeah, I think we should move forward. These people did a great job over the years for us. And let's keep them here for another 5 years.
Okay, do I have a motion? Let's bring this to the floor. Mr. Thomas on the second, Mr. Merlino on the motion to authorize the 5-year, Mr. Thomas on the second. Any further discussion? Mr. Hajos?
I just wanted to add on that, although we were seeking other proposals, I'm glad that Revolution Rail is going to be here. They've been a great partner. Over the years that they've been here, they've kept us in the loop if there's any issues with the rail, with any of the buildings. So I think this is a positive thing for the county to move forward.
Okay. Any further discussion, Ms. Bramer?
Thanks. I think they're great as well. I'm super excited to have them continue. I think the 5-year contract is important. I'm just curious how that payment compares to last year's contract or the previous one.
We're currently at 60,000 a year.
60,000, and it doesn't depend on ridership. So so it'll be 100,000
Per year.
per year, 5 years. Are there any other terms in their proposal?
We haven't, I mean, there's the maintenance terms and such that they have to do that we have similar to the contract they have today. They manage all the utilities of the buildings.
Mhm.
So all that is on them. But we'll get to that. It'll be similar to the contract we have now. The only language that will change will be the price in the contract.
Does this,
Mhm.
does this cover the full corridor?
This is
or
40 miles of trail.
The 40,
Yep,
okay,
40 miles of the
Okay.
rail. Yep.
that way they can kind of have flexibility about
Yep.
what they're doing.
And with that being said, so now that that's the case, I will work with Rob and Molly. We will start looking at probably in the beginning of the year, pulling railroad reserves so we can fix the one area that has the washout. Which everybody's been aware of it because I've been talking about it forever. So, but that'll be the next step.
Mhm.
And we'll have it ready for them by
Ms.
summer.
Bramer?
I'll save it. I have one thing, but not on this motion directly.
Okay. Well, the motion on the floor is to accept the proposal, 5-year proposal of $100,000 a year. Any further discussion? There being none, are we ready for the question? All those in favor of the resolution signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The resolution is carried. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
Have a nice Thanksgiving, everyone. Thank you.
Ms. Bramer, for just a moment, Ms. Bramer.
I do have one other thing, just because of we have our 5-year contract with these guys now, and we've had on the books for quite some time a resolution saying that we would proceed with a request for adverse abandonment so that we can go forward with official rail banking. I think that protects the county into the future, protects these guys, investment in our county, and gives a lot of clarity about what we're doing with this thing going forward. I would like to see us actually do that now that the northern portion of the line has been settled.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, that's why we passed the resolution and I think that we're in agreement on that vision of the future and the use of the corridor. And I think at this stage, I know I've been away from it for a while and I'm not as clear in my mind any longer on all of the different nuances of all of this and all the different players and where everyone is at. Maybe what we could do is ask the county administrator to get current on this subject. And I think you're going to need to talk to Supervisor Bramer and I assume Ryan Moore. And, but there, and maybe Ryan could give you the list of names of parties, both at DEC and elsewhere. That, that we need to, connect with, on this. I mean, not the least of which is Revolution, where Rail has acquired the property to the north now,
Right.
right?
Right.
So I mean, this is you know, changed, but what it means in terms of everything and the Surface Transportation Board, I don't know.
I will remind you, Chairman, and you could certainly call me, John, about any contact information. Some of that may have changed, but at the time, we did authorize also a contract with a railroad specific attorney to help us through this process. And I'm sure they're around because it was a
Mhm.
bigger firm.
Mhm.
So we should, unless we need to re-up that contract, try to reach out to them to get guidance.
No, and I remember at the time, and it's interesting today to have this recreational activity and the growth of this recreational activity and the revenue to assist us with the maintenance, that I think that thinking on the part of the board, at least based on at least that metric, was a good idea. And I think that, as opposed to, there being little or no recreational, we'll keep waiting for some kind of rail activity that's never going to show up. So, but I think that, it does get complicated, and I think that, maybe at next month's meeting, if that's not too soon, I think that, if you could give us a complete report, John,
Yeah, you're right.
it would be in January. It'll be in January. And if Ms. Bramer would like to come to the meeting as our guest, she's certainly always welcome. Always welcome.
Thank you. I may ask at the December board meeting for an update. Just give you a heads up.
So,
Give me a heads up. You're giving him a heads up. I'm gonna give you an update.
Administrative chaplain, give you
right,
an update.
and maybe John,
During
you
this
could be,
report.
whatever you have to that point. I mean, it's great that you're being signaled that that question might be asked.
Oh, yeah, certainly reach out.
Okay. And anything in writing, I mean, if as you discover things, please share them with the committee members, as soon as you have them. There's no reason to not share them with the committee. That way we're all current, or with the board, not just with the committee members, but the board. Mr. Merlino?
Yeah, I happened to meet the owner of the train from Corinth. And they're still interested in working something out with us and Rev Rail to run a train up as far as Stony Creek and back out of Corinth. And it's very successful. I happened to, during April festival, they were up. And they have good equipment. It's really in good shape, and they're doing a lot of dinner rides and stuff. And I think that would be an advantage to the lower end, like Lake Luzerne, Stony Creek, Hadley. To have something like that. And then now you got Rev Rail is they have to do what they want to do. Because he's interested in working with them and saying he'll come up at night on with a train for a dinner cruise or something like that, dinner ride, when they're not using the track. So if we can to keep that in the back of our heads, that'll be another, because they brought up a lot of people on that April. Yeah, festival from not only Corinth, Greenfield Center, stuff like that.
We bring up a very good point. I assume whatever agreement we enter into with Rev Rail also affords us the opportunity to utilize the property for other purposes, like the snowmobile clubs and other kinds of things that don't interfere, obviously, that don't interfere with their activity. That we still manage our own property.
Yeah, and just, I'll go back to what Gene was talking about, Maple and April. As you recall, we brought Hal Raven here to seek permission, and we passed a resolution to allow him to do that, as long as it coincided with
Right.
what Rev Rail, or that it didn't conflict with them, and they were okay with it. We had him approach them first to make sure it was okay during their operations, and then they approached it through
I
committee.
guess my question goes to the point of that we haven't within the lease transferred or delegated our property ownership rights to another company. We still maintain those rights conditioned on the operation that they're paying us for, right? So. But if we could have that report and anything in writing would be much appreciated. Mr. Garrity.
Yeah, you know, one thing you gotta consider is you're gonna run a tour train over the tracks, it's gonna be a little bit different running those rail bikes over the track as far as maintaining that portion of the railroad, the ties, the. You know, I mean, it's, you have to put a lot of work in if you're gonna run a train over it. FRA will probably step in and have a lot more to say about what they do. I mean, it's a good thing to do, but there may be some added costs to maintaining the tracks.
Mr. Gasia.
And what we had done when that gentleman approached us and ran the train up for Maple and April. He's a certified inspector for rail as well, and we put the onus on him to inspect the rail.
Yeah.
Before he ran any trains. Because again, Rev Rail is doing the maintenance on the track of making sure that culverts are staying unblocked and making sure that they remove any brush or trees. But when it comes to anything significant like ties and rails, we look at spots we can. But the fact of the matter is we've deferred maintenance on things like that. So there are things that have to be looked at. So when the gentleman approached and proposed that, and we eventually allowed him to do it, he had to provide me with an inspection report first before he could go on the track.
Now, just that revenue goes into a line item for the rail, is that correct? You show that in your budget as a
revenue.
Yeah. Frank, okay, just to make sure we're clear on that, okay, very good. And do you normally ask for that to be carried forward year to year, or do you normally let that relinquish and it?
I don't, and I don't think, and I'll let Frank correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't even think that goes into our reserve for the railroad either. I think it just goes into the reserve or not.
That's something that I
Probably
think that
should.
maybe you could talk to
Yeah.
Frank. You should talk to Frank and the chairman about in terms of going forward. It helps to have that money sitting there, because if you get a washout or something, you could be talking tens and tens of thousands
Yeah,
of
there's always
dollars,
gonna be.
you know.
Yeah, so the last shot that we had during the Halloween storm, I think it was approximately $170,000 project on the railroad. The current washout that we have is not going to be that much. And we currently right now have somewhere in about the 200,000+ range in the reserve, which is strictly for repair and maintenance of the railroad. But it's in the reserve right now. But I would agree, and I will certainly talk with the budget officer, taking that funding as opposed to putting it in the general fund is to put it back into that railroad reserve to be used. for
Yeah, I mean,
future-
those bridges, I mean, you're. I don't think you can have enough in there to be blunt about it. All right, then, shall we move on?
Shall,
Next item,
I think that's it for
Dean, thank you.
Yes, very good.
Always a pleasure.
So moving into the DPW, the first one we have is a new contract. This is for the household hazardous waste collection contractor. This would be for the new contractor coming up next year for the household hazardous waste. We don't have the bids in yet. But this will be to award for the lowest responsive bidder. The bids are due the 28th, which is Tuesday. And I will certainly have the tab sheet attached for the board meeting resolution.
Okay, can we move this forward for consideration? Ms. Bramer on the motion, Mr. Thomas on the second. What can you say? Great program. Getting off this moving in the right direction. And people are making good use out of it.
They are.
All right, then, we're ready for the question then. All those in favor of the new contract signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried. Next item.
Next one is to increase capital project H410. This is to fund the local match for construction and construction inspection. And this is for the Peaceville Valley Road, County Route 29 culvert replacement project.
All right, then, let's bring this forward. Mr. Merlino on the motion, Mr. Thomas on the second. Any questions? we ready for the question then? All those in favor of the increase in the capital project signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. Next item.
Next item is to establish capital project H 421 Call Street and Corinth Road. This is to fund the anticipated local match for preliminary engineering. And this is the next one of our federal aid projects.
Mr. Thomas, Ms. Bramer on the second. Any discussion? Ready for the question? All those in favor of the establishing the capital project H 421 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. Next item.
Next item we have on there is to increase capital project, and this is to fund the anticipated local match for preliminary engineering for capital project H 376, which would be the Hudson Street Bridge over Mill Creek in Johnsburg. And this is another one of our federal aid projects that we just received.
All right, then, Mr. Thomas on the motion, Mr. Merlino on the second. Discussion. Ready for the question then? All those in favor of the request signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. Next item.
Last item we have on there is a request for a new contract. This would be a new contract with CDTA. We currently have a contract with Greater Glens Falls Transit to use our fuel facilities throughout the county. They pay basically what all the municipalities pay is cost for the fuel, plus I believe it's 16 cents for service, another 5 cents for the diesel additive. So a 21-cent kind of fee on top of the fuel cost. CDTA had approached the county attorney's office, who in turn approached me, and we've done this before with fire departments, with schools. And CDTA is asking that they could use our fuel facility as well. The only concern I have with CDTA, which I had asked Robert about, is if the Capital District Transportation Authority is tax exempt, because we certainly can't charge them taxes, so because we don't pay taxes on it. So that's something that he was going to look at to move forward, but this would allow CDTA to use our fuel management system in the county.
With the condition that they also be a tax exempt.
Yes,
A
yeah,
tax
because
exempt
I don't
organization.
how it would work, because we could certainly not
No.
try to collect taxes from them for something that we don't pay taxes on.
Well, no, and then you're going to be into a whole reporting scheme that I'm not even sure I even understand.
So I'd let Robert look into that as far as the county attorney's office.
All right, then, let's bring item 5 forward for consideration. Mr. Thomas, on the second. Mr. Merlino, I know. But let's at least work this, right? If they're tax exempt, I don't have a problem with it. If they are taxable, then it's a horse of a different color. All right, Ms. Bramer?
Is there a proposed contract? You know anything?
Not as of yet,
Draft?
no.
Can you send it to me, please? Let me get it done.
It would be the same contracts that we use for the towns and whatever else, so I can send that to you, but the only caveat to this is, as I told Supervisor Connolly just said, is whether or not they're tax exempt.
Mr. Thomas?
Yeah, they won't be able to get fuel in Stony Creek, but they won't be over there anyways. And we don't have a fuel farm.
Oh, dear.
Certainly build one over there.
Well, Lake Luzerne, they can use ours if they come into Lake Luzerne.
Mr. Wild?
Chairman, thank you. Do the fees that we charge cover our maintenance?
They do.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right, then, are we ready for the question with that condition? Item 5, new contract allows CDTA, Capital District Transportation, to use the county's fuel management system with the conditions as outlined, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried.
Next I have is discussion items, which is a project update. Federal aid projects, Quaker Road pavement preservation in the town of Queensbury is complete. They did the walkthrough with DOT, bunch of those items were completed, so that federal aid project is done. And as of Friday this past week, we opened up the Johnsburg bridge replacements, which was Glen Creek Road and Dippy Hill over Glen Creek. And I have some photos and they are completed as well. I'll pass those around.
You know, if you get a chance, any photos that you have on the on Countryside, if you could shoot those off to Edna Frazier.
Yes.
I remember the first meeting that we had she had on renovations and upgrading Countryside at Countryside. I remember it well. And she really helped to kick it all off. And I think it might be nice if we could show her
Okay.
the results of her good work. Be a nice thing.
The last thing I had on there is I was approached by a couple gentlemen 3 or 4 weeks back to put up a historic school sign on a piece of property in Warrensburg. They've done quite a few of these. In fact, I spoke with Chairman Garrity about this as well. They're basically what they do is they found where all the old schoolhouse facilities were, and they put up the kind of the historic markers that you see similar to the blue and yellow ones you see everywhere. And I'm hoping that I thought I brought the pictures with me. But there's a piece of property right next to Soil and Water in Warrensburg where the old, here we go, the old schoolhouse was. It was a one-room schoolhouse called District 3 Schoolhouse. And they provided me an example of other signs that they put up over by Warren Mill and the location of the property. They would put it within our right of way. And I don't have any issues, and I don't necessarily think we need a resolution. I just wanted to bring it for, an item for discussion for the committee. But I think it's a great thing that they found, or someone's researched these historic sites to put these signs back up to say what was here at one time or another in the past, so.
I think it's great, and I think that they tend to map these sites for visitors and for people, and I know we have people come through Bolton, looking for the different sites that exist, historical sites. Claudia?
Can we just, if you haven't already, run it through the county historian? Did you say it was going through them?
These are from the Warrensburg Historical Society.
They are,
Yes, they are.
okay,
Yep, that's where this gentleman is from.
is from there, okay.
Yep.
I just didn't want to have signs go up that might not be actually.
It was
accurate.
actually, this one in particular was his property, and he said that his family members went to the schoolhouse. Do you recall that schoolhouse number 3 over there? By Soil and Water?
No, I remember the fields there. Like totally they should go that for there. No.
I would have thought you graduated.
Hey, I remember.
Mr. Merlino,
Would we be able to do this if we have one room schoolhouse in Lake Luzerne also?
Absolutely.
We keep it up and it's a well tended traffic. And I enjoy, I'll just give you a quick instance. This happened last year. I was riding past the schoolhouse and I saw a couple standing there, husband, wife, and 3 kids. So I said, well, let me turn around and go back. And asked them if they wanted, it wasn't open, if they wanted to go in, and of course I have the keys to the kingdom. And the kids were all excited, and the 8-year-old girl was taking pictures of the whole thing. She was gonna go show and tell when she gets back to Long Island, so. It's an interesting thing. Everything is
Okay.
original in it, so.
all right then, any other business, Mr. Hajos? Anyone have any business for the committee, Mr. Chairman?
One question. I went through Johnburg the other day and, they're putting a water line in. What's the time frame on paving that road?
Next spring.
Next spring?
Yeah, we had proposed to get it done during this season. And I'm not gonna say that it was a delay by Johnsburg. But from start to finish of that water line project, it was supposed to be done actually November 1st. I know they're still doing some hookups. There's no way we were gonna attempt to reconstruct that, because it's not just a pavement, it's a reconstruction. That's all concrete slab that we're gonna remove out of there, so. Next spring, that's on the docket. We actually have the plans sitting on the shelf ready to go. So we'll put out probably this month or into December, we'll put them out to bid, see what our bids come in at, and then we'll propose construction first thing in the spring.
Long time coming.
Yes, very long time.
All right, then, there be no further business. Challenge to the motion to adjourn, Ms. Bramer, Mr. Thomas on the second, all in favor of adjourning, signify by saying aye.